All right, welcome back to John Brown's Ride Reviews. Today we're doing an ultralight. I've heard some of you guys say that with crappie season coming up, especially here in the southeast, want to look at some ultralights. Today we're looking at a really budget ultralight. This is the BnM Little Lucy. It's been around for quite a while. I think I've had this one about 6 years, and I think since it's fiberglass, it's all fiberglass, and I think since it is, some folks don't like the weight to it. Personally, with an ultralight, I like to have a little bit more weight. To get a little bit more whip on the cast, get you a little bit more distance when you're in tight corners. This is a short rod. It's a 5 foot rod. It's really shines in kayak situations, whether you call them creeks or streams or whatever. I guess the technical term is a tributary. If you do kayak fish, this is where that rod could shine. But before we get into it, I want to take some questions. Chris asked, "Are all the pennies the same weight?" Any penny made after 1982 is the same weight. So all the pennies that I use are post 1982 pennies. Stephen asks, "Does the orientation of the rod matter?" It does. These are all down facing, and the rod is always going to be parallel like this. Dr. Hanneman, goes into that in his papers, but also the main reason is because of the spine. The spine of the rod, is what's taking the bend deflection. Phil asked, "Can you describe what situation I would use this rod in?" I'll start doing that in all the videos. Like I said, this one is going to shine more in a kayak situation where you might be, in a low to the water situation, and you just don't have that space. You're in between logs and trees. Jared asked, "Is there going to be a location where all the rods can be compared graphically?" And yeah, that's my plan. I'll actually have it in this video comparing this one to the ugly stick that we did last time. Uh, if you guys want to see that on Facebook or Instagram, I might make a social media page to host all the graphs where you can look at them comparatively. But I guess let me know in the comments if you do want to see that. Dave asks, "Can you explain more of Dr. Hanneman's methods and how these metrics overlap with the quote vague power and action ratings?" Yeah, I'll probably make a whole separate video because that was 3 or 4 years of Dr. Hanneman's work, and it probably deserves a video in and of itself. But yeah, definitely we can go through that, and maybe that'll be the next video. But let's get into it. All right, so for the power here, I've already loaded up 68 pennies, and I will show you what that looks like. Okay. All right, so right here we're at that 1/3 length. This is a 60-inch rod, so this is 20 inches. Just as a reminder, each one of these squares is 1 inch. But I'll get you in closer here for the action. Right. Okay, now this should have quite a shallower angle, and I think I can already tell that it does. Let's see here. Let's make sure that we got it where it needs to be. Okay, so with the tip on the center of the protractor here, but we're between 55 and 60 degrees. I'm going to call it 57, just a hair more towards 55 from the middle. So there you go, 68 pennies and 57 degrees for the power and action, respectively. I do want to show something that I had to really think through to make sure that this was level. I had to go on another slot for my clamps. I do got some new clamps here that make it really easy to switch in and out. But the big thing here is making sure this is level because it drastically impacts the power and the action. But that's how we're gonna do it. And since this is cantilevered or fixed, where the clamp is, my standard for this, since we did in the first video, the end of the accelerometer is always going to be 4.25 inches from the fixed clamp, the edge of the fixed clamp to the end of the accelerometer. All right, so we will get into that sensitivity test in just a minute. All right, welcome back for the sensitivity test. I think that this is going to be interesting. since it is an ultralight, it'll be interesting to see how the whole 10% thing plays in. But we do have 7 pennies in here. I was not going to split a penny into eighths, so 6.8, 10%, but we're going to go 7. All right, I'm going to press record on the data, and then we will hit the trigger. 3, 2, 1. All right, we got a good capture there. Let's check it out.
Yeah, so a really nice curve here. I'm pretty pleased with it. We see that same behavior as last time where the highest magnitude is on the unloading or when the rod is springing back up from the bottom. Seeing it at 2.01 Gs. There's a little bit of bad data right before 3/10 of a second there where it hit the wall, but it does eventually settle out like we'd expect. So looking here in comparison, the ugly stick is over twice as sensitive, and I would kind of expect that. The little Lucy is an extreme budget rod. It's all fiberglass. I really think that this normalized 10% approach, though, is valid. I think this, really shows that I would expect it to be about twice as sensitive, the ugly stick, compared to the little Lucy. Overall, though, I mean, it's under $20. This is a good ultralight rod to get started with. I like it to use it in those kayak situations. But all right, I'm really pleased with this. We'll do it going forward. As always, tight lines, take it easy. We'll see you next time.